The first free title update 1 landed in Monster Hunter Wilds April 3rd or 4th, depending on your time zone, and brought with it Muzitsune, Zoshia, the Grand Hub, and Arena quests, introducing new stuff to do, new gear to craft, a slight shift in the meta, and some super fun off-meta gear and builds. With that in mind, I thought it'd be cool to get an updated all weapons easiest to hardest ratings overview, providing a brief breakdown of each of the weapons and why I think they're either easy or hard to pick up, and what their skill ceiling is, how difficult they may be to master. This is of course all subjective, it's my opinion. You're welcome to agree or disagree, have your own stance on it, but hopefully useful in providing some guidance for which weapon choices you may vibe with. Get yourself cozy, and just before we do get stuck in, a quick word from today's sponsor. Surfshark develops humanized privacy and security solutions to safeguard your data and privacy online. It allows you to virtually travel the world, browse privately by encrypting your internet activity, blocking ads and malware that get in your way, and more. Using a VPN, a virtual private network, is a lot like wearing pants. All the important stuff stays private and secure when you step your foot outside. A VPN covers your whole online activity. Once your device connects to the internet, all the information is encrypted, that is to say, it's blurred out. That's where your online activity is hidden from all the snoopers and trackers. With Surfshark, the whole household is covered. You don't need to count up the devices and decide which ones make the cut. Surfshark lets you set up one account and use it on unlimited devices. It's got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can take your time to try out the whole service, everything it has to offer, watch a bunch of the Netflix shows and movies that are restricted for you in your region, and see if it's something that you dig. Check out the link in the description. It should be surfshark.com/lightedupdan, which will give you the best price available on the market plus an extra 4 months. Use the link and or code lightedupdan on checkout and enjoy your Surfshark VPN experience. Starting us off with the poster weapon of the franchise, we have the Greatsword, a slow, charge-up, heavy-hitting weapon with very high single strike damage, relying on timing, positioning, and placement, in addition to full activation of the single brain cell possessed by Greatsword users, much more so than perhaps other weapons. The core playstyle utilizes charging combo strings, each of which can be charged up to 3 levels, taking longer but dealing more damage as a trade-off. It really packs a punch, and one single strike that you've connected can make up for a whole combo string with other weapons. It has an extremely versatile kit in Wilds, and I somewhat consider it this title's ultimate melee weapon, dethroning the sword and shield from World. You can guard, so also perfect guard and power clash, and offset strike with a chargeable attack for better timing. It does everything very well. Skills that you might find useful for the weapon include focus to lower the charge up times, counter strike which can also be activated by hyper armoring through attacks, really useful with the tackle, and even offensive guard since blocking is such a core part of the game. Where previously the positioning and accuracy of your attacks was quite a barrier, focus mode now makes that quite a lot easier. I would say the Greatsword is easy to pick up and play with a high skill ceiling making it hard to master. Up next we have the very flashy, very anime, fan favorite weapon, the Longsword. A fairly quick speed weapon with good range, offering easy to execute combo chains, with perfect evading and counter-attacking interwoven through. The core playstyle sees the hunter filling up a meter, the spirit gauge, which can be ranked up to 3 times up to red tier, unlocking quicker, deadlier attacks, and dealing maximum damage for the special attacks that consume levels of the spirit gauge. It's filled by landing strikes, but also by executing the perfect evades and the counter-attacks, giving the weapon the very fluid, dynamic, flashy feel. Skills you may find useful include Power Prolonger to squeeze out more time in red tier 3 spirit gauge, Quick Sheath to get into special sheath stance much faster, Adrenaline Rush for the huge attack boost upon your successful Foresight/iframe, Critical Draw for massive affinity increases on draw attacks when it's not bugged, and many others useful for lots of weapons, maximum might, burst, etc. I'm gonna rate the Longsword as pretty easy to pick up and play and have a good time with a kit that allows you to potentially become a god, but hard to master with a high skill ceiling, as getting your back-to-back perfect timings off is easier said than done. Next up we have the very versatile all-rounder, the jack of all trades, the Sword and Shield, offering high mobility for easy positioning and reorienting, with swift, low commitment combo strings and a fast, flexible block. The core playstyle involves completing easy and effective combo strings, capable of dealing fast, low commitment damage in and of themselves, but are actually used as a vehicle vehicle to get to very powerful combo finishes, accessible exclusively after finishing these combos, that is Spinning Reaper and the full power charged chop, maintaining high mobility between attacks, and fluidly getting into your block, allowing for easy perfect guarding, after which a swift powerful counter slash can be done, and of course with all blocking weapons you can activate a power clash. Some of the skills that are useful with this weapon include Offensive Guard, which is an easy plus 15% attack boost, Guard or Guard Up if you're interested in increasing the efficacy of your block. Burst and Maximum Might also do really well here. Sword and Shield has historically always been a very beginner friendly weapon to pick up and play. I absolutely believe that's the same for Wilds. I'm going to say it's easy, and I think the skill ceiling has dropped from previous titles. I'm going to put that as a medium to master. Next up, we've got the very fast-paced one true anime weapon, the Dual Blades, featuring a very high mobility, rapid fire, death by 1,000 cuts, flurry of blows style of attacks, with a focus on placement and positioning, and pure evasion as the weapon's defensive measures. The core playstyle involves activating Demon Mode, the weapon's true form if you will, unleashing a rapid and deadly flurry of blows, building up meter in order to execute the extra powerful special attacks. It has a built-in perfect evade, further enhancing evasion as its chosen defensive measure, whilst also providing a big attack boost and switching to a more aggressive moveset. You've also got a Naruto run whilst in Demon Mode, Data Bio. Oh, Sasuke! Some skills you may wish to consider include Focus, to increase the rate of demon gauge build-up with your attacks, of course Adrenaline Rush for the huge boost in attack upon perfect evading, Evade Window to make those perfect evades easier, Constitution to help conserve your stamina, and you can get some super nice synergy with the Muzitsune gear. You can check out my ninja build video. I'd say Dual Blades are very beginner friendly, so easy to pick up and play. Perfect evading being its only defensive capability can be tricky, particularly in conjunction with the weapon's stamina management. I'm going to rate it as medium to master. This next weapon comes with its own not so secret society, the Bonk Brotherhood, the KO Kens, the Dong Dynasty. It is of course the Hammer, featuring simple but fairly quick high damage low commitment attacks, with some slower powerful wind up finishers and the ability to stun monsters with ease. The core playstyle sees the hunter focusing on the head to dish out as much KO as possible, which when activated will stun the monster and get a topple for you and your squad. The 3-hit combo strings are simple, easy to execute, and are very backloaded in terms of damage, which can also be chained into a slower, very powerful wind up attack, the Mighty Charge Slam. It also has a charging function that can be held down whilst moving, going up to 3 different levels to execute different attacks, for quick and powerful uppercuts and slower wind up bonks. It does have an offset attack, but it's tucked behind the 3rd input in the core combo string. Although it can be held down for a brief period, it has to be particularly premeditated. Other than the offset, evading is your only defensive measure, but mobility with the weapon is actually very good, and the charge sidestep makes it even better. Some of the skills you may want to consider are Charge Up and Slugger to increase the stun power of the weapon, Focus for quicker charge up attacks, and despite the usage of stamina, Maximum Might still works really well, providing you're not always running around charging up. Simple combos, big bang for your bonk. I'm going to say easy to pick up and play. Learning which attacks to use when and how to effectively chain stuff together isn't too tough either. I'm also going to give it an easy to master. It's honk, it's bonk, it's very strong. Up next, we have the Hammer's musical stepsister, the Hunting Horn, featuring powerful blunt attacks for big KO, the ability to buff yourself and your teammates, and generally play a support function. The core gameplay sees the hunter playing and storing one of 3 musical notes per attack, which can then be queued up to perform the weapon-specific melodies, which are the buffs, the heals, the moves, as well as dropping big AoE bubbles with various special effects, including increased attack, stamina regeneration, health regeneration. The melodies and echo bubbles differ from horn to horn. Make no mistake, there are no non-attacking weapons. You're still expected to be in the fray, smashing it up against the monster's head, and it's more than capable of dishing out tremendous amounts of damage. Some of the skills you may want to consider include Horn Maestro as an absolute essential, greatly increasing the duration and healing from melodies, Slugger to increase the stun power of the weapon, and then some of your usuals like Maximum Might and Burst. The Hunting Horn has 4 attack inputs out of the gates, the 3 notes and the performance. It also has a crazy UI when you're not used to what you're seeing. Definitely hard to just pick up and play. Understanding the different attacks and knowing which one to pull out when, also very difficult. It gets a hard rating to master. Up next is the ultimate defense and the counter-attacking weapon. We've got the Lance, featuring high uptime jabbing attacks, powerful guarding and counter-attacking, allowing for unmatched perseverance and providing an answer to absolutely everything. The core gameplay allows the hunter to mix and match between lateral and upper thrusting attacks, completing chains of 3 hits, while allowing for very fluid and dynamic blocking in between attacks, as well as auto shield bashes for each perfect block. There are payback thrusts, retribution thrusts, double counter thrusts with complete damage mitigation. Nothing quite lets you stay in the front lines of the fight face to face, toe to toe with the monster like the Lance does. Some skills that complement it include offensive guard, of course, for 15% attack boost, any guard and guard up skills you may want to take to improve the efficacy of your block. Resentment can be a good attack boost with all the chip damage. Equally, peak performance can be a good attack boost if you have health regeneration, and you can't go wrong with some burst. I feel Lance is a very welcoming choice for beginners. The powerful block gives you a lot of space, and the core 3-hit combos are very simple. I'm going to give it an easy to pick up and play. There is so much depth and nuance to the weapon. When to pull, which counterattack, when's it appropriate? I'm going to give it a hard to master. Yo, shields up, iron breakers. Next, we've got the Lance's freedom-loving twin, the Gunlance, featuring very crunchy and satisfying explosive combos with massive damage blast finishers, with a guard as strong as the Lance's. The core gameplay sees the hunter go into these big combo chains, unloading all of their shelling, with back-to-back worm stake cannons unloading absolute pain, topping it all off with quicker releasing Wyvern fire blasts. You can achieve pretty good mobility using gap closing attacks and your shelling bouncing attacks, and the ability to dynamically pull out your shield for perfect guards, followed by a counter crunchy overhead slam, and of course blocking means you can initiate power clashes. Some skills that you can take with Gunlance include load shells, increasing the shelling capacity by 1, which is massive on wide shelling type, artillery to improve the damage from shelling and Wyvern's fire and the Wyvern's fire firing speed, so pretty much 2 essentials right there. Offensive guard is a great shout, focus to increase the Wyvern fire replenishment rate, and any of your usuals. The different ammunitions you're managing and the combo inputs changing depending on when you do them can all be quite tricky to get to grips with, but the really nice chunky shield does give you a lot of space. Somewhat balancing it out, I'm going to say it's medium to pick up and play. Once you do have the inputs down and you know the core combo loop, I'd say it's pretty straightforward, so I'm going to say easy to master. Next up, we have the first of the 2 transformation weapons in Wilds. We've got the Switch Axe, featuring the higher mobility but crunchy axe form, and the slower damaged focus sword form capable of unleashing devastating finishes. The core gameplay sees the hunter switching between the 2 modes pretty frequently. The axe form, with better mobility and gap closing or distancing attacks, charges up the switch gauge in order to use the sword form. Being in sword mode is slower, but it's the primary damage dealer, consuming up switch gauge per attack, but builds up amp gauge to further power up the sword and unleash absolutely devastating finishes like the full release slash. This loop of building up enough switch gauge to use sword mode, to then consume it whilst building up amp gauge, smashing out your finishers before switching back to axe mode. Not only that, but the axe form has an offset attack, and the sword form has a parry, so you've got really good defensive slash counter attacking measures built in. Some of the skills you may wish to consider include Power Prolonger, which doubles the fully amped duration from 45 seconds to 90 seconds. Rapid Morph is another option too. It has nice synergy with Counter Strike, as the full release slash has hyper armor, so using that through various attacks can activate it without you getting knocked away. The actual combo inputs are pretty simple. I'd say having the 2 forms and multiple gauges to manage can be a little bit tricky to pick up and play with, so I'm going to give that a medium. As you get more familiar with the loops, you'll be getting into sword mode and using full release slash on repeat. Of course, there's more nuance to it than that, but I'm going to rate the mastery as easy. Next, we have the other transforming weapon, and probably the strongest one in the game, the Charge Blade, featuring a chunky sword and shield with better mobility and defensive capabilities, and a giant 2-handed axe form which brings the pain. The core gameplay sees the hunter building and storing up charge, gained from landing sword attacks in the sword and shield mode, converting them into files which can be expended in axe mode during the special attacks to deal additional damage. It has a very strong super axe activation called Power Axe, often dubbed Savage Axe, which turns it into a chainsaw giant pizza cutter style of axe. Activating this after a perfect block, which the weapon can do, a power clash, a mount finisher, or even a focus strike versus a wound is how you unlock the true Charge Blade in a sense. It is absolutely devastating and quite possibly dishes out the most damage in the game out of all of the weapons. Some of the skills you may wish to use include Load Shells, allowing you to double charge your files in a single cycle, pretty much absolutely essential. Artillery if you wish to increase the damage of your impact files, Power Prolonger to extend the duration of your charged shield, sword, Savage Axe form, Focus to to build up the charge quicker. Burst works really nicely as one Savage Axe attack with full ticks gives you all 5 hits immediately. Charge Blade has a lot going on. There's 2 forms, like 3 different gauges to manage at any given time, and the various combo inputs can sometimes feel like old school cheat codes. I'm gonna rate it as hard to pick up and play. Once you've got the process order down, it's mostly staying in Savage Axe and just tearing through monsters. I'm gonna rate it as medium to master. Next up, we have the game's exclusively dedicated aerial weapon, the Insect Glaive. Featuring a vaulting monk-esque playstyle, allowing for combat both on the ground and in the sky, enlisting the help of a giant bug that comes with the stick to help further power up the whole weapon. The core gameplay sees the hunter using the Kinsect to get all 3 essences, providing a whole host of buffs, including expanding upon the moveset, increasing movement speed and jump height, and overall attack and defense stat boosts. Having all 3 essences stored is also a prerequisite for the weapon's new finisher, the Rising Spiral Slash, a very flashy, very powerful Final Fantasy-esque limit break finisher. The hunter's propelled into the air, unleashing a flurry of blows, expending all 3 essences, but also gathering up some new ones as it goes. Your core loop sees you bouncing between gathering up the 3 essences and of course just doing your regular attacks as you go, to then expend them all with the Rising Spiral Slash, and repeating. The charged up attacks you need to do prior to the Rising Spiral Slash also have offset properties which can be pretty useful. Some skills you may wish to consider with the Insect Glaive include Power Prolonger, Focus for the charge attacks, Jump Master to stop you getting knocked back on jumping attacks, Airborne for increased aerial damage, and a mix of any of the usuals. There's quite a lot going on here between navigating gathering up the 3 essences, understanding your combos and how they alter. I'm gonna say this is hard to pick up and play. Even after getting the process order down, using the weapon's mobility properly and understanding when you should use your various attacks is still pretty tricky. I'm gonna say medium to master. Onto the game's ranged weapons, transforming Monster Hunter into a third-person shooter. Up first, we have the very quick on your feet light bowgun, featuring a high mobility running and gunning playstyle with lots of sidestepping during and in between shots. The core gameplay sees you using your basic shots regardless of ammo type to build up the special meter, the rapid fire gauge, which then allows you to rapid fire your rapid fire rapidly. The different ammo types range from normal shots to piercing ammo to elemental rounds. How you set up your bowgun with the modifications and which ones you craft will direct you towards which ammo you should use. You're able to use your grenade rounds during the focus strikes, and there's also special ammo like the Wyvern Fire mines to get more damage out, but for the most part you're bouncing between these 2 modes, your basic shots and your rapid fire shots. There are plenty of range specific skills you may wish to consider, such as ballistics to increase the effective range, special ammo, opening shot, rapid fire up, perhaps evade extender with all the sidestepping you're doing too, normal shots if you're using normal ammo, piercing shots if you're using piercing ammo, etc. I would say this is by far the most beginner friendly of the ranged weapons and just generally a very beginner friendly weapon. It's run, point and shoot. I'm gonna say easy to pick up and play. There's a small learning curve with the modifications, which ammo type you want to use, but still relatively simple. I'm gonna rate it as easy to master. Next up, we have the slower, more powerful big sister to the LBG, the heavy bowgun, featuring a much more restricted movement in exchange for generally more firepower per shot. The core gameplay has many similarities to LBG, but also some distinctions as well. Your basic shots are used to fill up a special meter, which you'll then switch over to in order to deal more damage. Once that runs out, rinse and repeat. One of the key differences is that you can actually change what the special meter does. Wyvern Heart Ignition turns it into a literal heavy machine gun, whereas Wyvern Piercer Ignition fires a slow-moving single shot that pierces through the length of the monster. More of the differences include that the weapon can actually guard. In between your shots, you are automatically blocking, and you can use an active input to get perfect guards as well. For the second mode, if Wyvern Counter is equipped in the mods, you've also got an offset attack, so it does separate itself from LBG. Some of the skills you may wish to consider include ballistics, increasing the effective range, special ammo boost, opening shot, guard may be useful, evade extender, Petrid shot, artillery, quite a few options to consider. The slower, more restricted mobility demands more deliberate positioning and placement. I'm going to say it's medium to pick up and play. Gaining a better understanding of when to commit and when to hold back does take a bit of time and can be a bit tricky. I'm also going to give it a medium to master. Last but not least, we have the third of the ranged weapons and contender for ultimate weapon in the game, the bow, featuring a very involved high mobility fluid playstyle with different combinations of shots and powerful special attacks. The core gameplay involves consistently chaining your shots to go up charge levels, firing out more arrows and dealing more damage with each strike. The basic shots fill up a special meter, the trick shot gauge, which can be consumed to do various things like putting a tracer arrow on the monster or applying a coating to power up your arrows. It has a perfect evade, the discerning dodge, which replenishes the majority of your stamina bar, amazing game because stamina management is one of the things you need to be mindful of, and also replenishing a bunch of trick shot gauge too. With multiple powerful special attacks at your disposal with 1000 Dragons, Dragon Piercer, it's a real force to be reckoned with. Some of the skills you may wish to consider include Ballistics to increase your effective range, Special Ammo Boost, Focus, Adrenaline Rush to give you the massive damage boost on your perfect dodge, perhaps any stamina skills like Stamina Surge, some really cool options. There is a lot going on with bow between your trick shot gauge, your coatings, not to mention you take significantly more damage as well. I'm gonna say it's hard to pick up and play. When you do get to grips with all the different options available to you, knowing when to pull out which trick when takes quite a bit. I'm gonna say it's hard to master. That's all 14 weapons rated easy, medium, or hard, both to pick up and play and to comfortably master. Remember that this is all subjective and relative to each of the weapons, so don't let an easy or hard rating put you off from trying it out. If you enjoyed the video, subscribing is the best way to support and it's free. But either way, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the Forbidden Lands.